Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna be moving these integer variables into an array in C Sharp. So I have here four variables. So this variable is going to represent a number of shares. So for this variable we have Bank of America. For this one's going to be General Motors, Microsoft, and Apple. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to create an array that store these variables so I can manipulate this in a better way, and I can use link and do some sort of more deep analysis on these numbers. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to create the array. So that's going to be an array of integers. I'm going to name this array shares, and then I'm going to pass my integers into these shares. Okay, let's do back, GM, Microsoft, and Apple. So all my integers are now in this array. Okay, so if I print this out, I could get something for now. Let's just take a look at it. This is not the right way to print this, right? So you have to use a for each. You have to iterate through these values so you can actually get a value. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to create a for each variable. I'm gonna call this share in shares. I want to actually print my share value. I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to run this, and I'll see all my values: 100, 20, 150, and 200. Alright, so because I have this already in an array, I can actually use link to filter and to have conditions over these variables. So I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to call this variable portfolio1. Portfolio1. And this portfolio1 is going to pick all the shares that are higher than 100. Only the ones that have more than 100 shares. That's going to be my portfolio1. And my portfolio2 is going to be the ones that are less than 100. It's going to be my portfolio number 2. So my portfolio number 1 is going to be based on this array, which is at the same time based on these integers. So let's start by doing this. I'm going to say from s in shares where, so my condition is going to be where s is higher than 100, and then I'm going to select s. So I have the condition here for my portfolio 1. Let's see if it's working. So I'm going to go to for each. I'm going to iterate through these values on my new collection, which is actually a new variable represented by this portfolio1, and I'm going to print these values. So I'm going to print my I value. Let's just print a message here. This is my portfolio1. Alright, so if I execute the application, I'm going to have the values that are higher than 100. Only those values. So I'm basically applying link to this array. Alright, now let's try to create the portfolio number 2. So portfolio number 2 would be something similar, so I'm going to call a variable portfolio 2, and then I'm going to make a reference to the same shares array. I'm going to call a different condition, so this time is where s is going to be less than 100. We can say less or equal than 100, and then I'm going to select s. Alright, we're almost done, so I have to apply a for each loop. I'm going to say for each variable, let's call this x now, in port2, I want to get the x value. Alright, so I want to call this a portfolio 2, so I'm just gonna print out a different message here. So this is going to be my portfolio 2, and that's pretty much it. So if I execute this program, I'm going to have my two portfolios. So my first portfolio, it's basically where I have more than 100 shares, and then the next one's going to be the ones that are less or equal than 100. So I have Bank of America and I have General Motors. Okay, that's perfect. Alright, so that's basically how you guys can pass integers to an array. Then from the array you can get the values, and since we're talking about numbers here, we could execute some sort of link operation here. In this case, I have just a couple of conditions based on what it's higher than 100 or less or equal than 100. Those are basically my two conditions. You could add more, of course. And that's pretty much everything for today. Thank you guys, and I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next video.